Well, I'd like to start with the beginning of Volvo in Suffolk. W. Carter at Melton had the first F86 in Suffolk, which was 67, 68, I'm not exactly sure. Leslie started W. Carter and named it after his father. He was offered the Volvo franchise, but he didn't want it, and Duffields of East Anglia ended up with it, and they had an early F88 240 in East Anglia, VRT 505G, and Nuns had an H, PCF 703H, which was brown at Housden. They were the first Volvos around here. That was then upgraded from an F86 and an 88 that came to Britain. They made a bigger engine, a 290 that had a bigger grille to keep the engine cool. That was then replaced with an F7, an F10 and an F12. That then moved on to an FL7, an FL10, an upgraded F10, an F12, then an F16, which was a mighty beast with a big engine that was heavy and awful on fuel if you drove it badly. Then we got onto the FH and the FM, which replaced them with an FM12. They've had some rigids, F4s, FL4s, so on. But this is part of the transition. You have to excuse the freight train. It's probably going to Birmingham, but we're not really sure. It's taken containers off the road. That's what that's all about. FL10s, F10s. I've got a feeling in my heart for this truck, is the answer. I can remember the first FL I ever saw was an FL7 owned by P&O Roadways. It was Olympic blue, January 86. I took a picture of it, C36 AVG, down at the Cedars Hotel. Trucks used to park down there at weekends, and the dead end road that was the old A45. I got my first camera, went off on my bike to see what I could find. By chance, Leggett's, who were a great thread of Suffolk, who are sadly no longer trading, had the three before that, C33 AVG, 34, 35, but most people didn't know that 35 was actually owned by, everyone calls him Rockhead, who's an Alderton, who's one of my customers now. He's a good friend, and his son, in Leggett's colours that he used as a subby. His mum was a Leggett, so he had a tie-up with the family because she married an Alderton. That was the first 16-speed gearbox FL in Suffolk, and those four were very early versions of the FL truck, and this is a superseded. This is May 94, what we're standing in front of now. So these were January 86, and originally they had a 299 horsepower Volvo engine. So you've got the same gear train, running gear, you've got the same diff, gearbox, engine, clutch. You've just got a smaller cab than an F10 that's lighter, so you can get a better payload than an F10, but to actually live in, it doesn't have the room. But you have to decide what you want. If you're a governor, you're here to make money, and you buy the trucks. But there's a lot to think about, because if you have a bigger lorry, you get a better quality of driver, and it's worth more to sell it because people want to buy it. Thing is, with these, they didn't have the residuals of an F10, because an owner-driver doesn't want to buy one of these, generally. But they did score reliability, fuel efficiency, so economy, a very low tear weight. So if you're paid by the ton, and you are on bulk and with tanks, the more payload you can get. So the lighter this is, the better for you. And if you're on day work, these were nicknamed shopping trolleys and Wendy Houses, because it's what to live in it. It's like a Wendy house. An FH, an F cab, a Globetrotter, you can stand up to put your trousers on. When I used to live in one of these, you can't do that. You have to shuffle around on your back to take your trousers off and put them on. The early curtains of these, you could see through them like paper. If you had a light on and it was dark, people could see through what you were doing, although you didn't think they could, which is something to consider. They had terrible problems with electrics. The wirings were very soft. The dingers would ping, often for no reason, that say it's low of water, but actually it wasn't, and they've got low oil pressure gauges that would bing that it's got low oil, but actually it hasn't. But you need, when you get to learn how they work, you trust it, that hang on, well, I checked the water this morning, I'll stop and I'll have a look, and then it's fine. And then you realise it's the binger. And leaky roofs, they were terrible at that. A lot of them leaked water. Eventually The actual cab lining, some of them rotted so bad they fell out. They actually fell in the cab. But it was quite often that people would leave newspapers across the dashboards at night when they went home, when they come in the morning, because otherwise it was all sodden, which was terrible really. Door handles were very soft, that they regularly just snapped. But if that's what's wrong with it, you've still got a Volvo that's a reliable, economic, well-engineered thing with a soft cab. And as time went on, they put a 320 engine in it, which is what this has got. A bigger engine with more power. There were a few 360s, there weren't many. And they ironed out the niggles of, they put more strength in the metal on the door handle. They cured the wiring problems. These, in their day, they earned people a lot of money. They're low to get in, which is another important thing. You can fall out of a lorry now and break your ankle. You'd have a job in this. But if you're in out all day, you don't want to be climbing up into the heavens. And if you did fall out, you haven't got so far to go. But when I started driving at 17 in a car, this was a good progression in height and size and width. To get these new trucks now are actually quite daunting. To go from learning in a little lorry to going out now with 44 tonne with all the electrics and the width and the height. I didn't have that big a step to me. And when I worked at Russell Davis, I used to shunt in these when I was 17 and 18 around the yard. And the first one I ever drove was Paul Magnus's. I can still remember it. An FL7 E902 PMG. That was called Danella Jane, and my mate Bones used to drive it. And to me, that's yesterday. Well, that was 88. That's a long while ago now, isn't it? And then when I started driving, I had an F10 at Brian Palmer's, and then I went into an FL10, which was a six-wheeler that was ex-Taylor Barnard, D513JNG, that my best mate had at Brian's before me. And then the progression goes on through what I had at Leggett's and Goodwin's. But to get in this today and hear it ping, to just climb in it, to sit in it, to start it, to hear the engine, I've gone back to a better day in my life, for me, with nostalgia. When transport had a heart, people cared, it worked.